Welcome to the FullTime Fantasy Podcast, presented by the Fantasy Football World Championship, home to the industry's most accurate rankings.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the FullTime Fantasy Football Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam Krautwurst, Adam_Krautwurst. You can find me on the X there. Snake joining me again tonight. What's up, my friend?
What's up, Adam? What's up? You know, the last time you and I did a podcast together was a mere 5 weeks ago.
That's it.
Right? And since that time, you would think that the fantasy football entire world sky is falling down on all of us, Adam. What to do, especially coming off of this past weekend of not decadence and debauchery, but debauched and deranged deterioration. I mean, a lot of shit happened. It happens all the time, every year, every week in the NFL. It's just because now we're at present and we're speaking, but it seems like the sky is falling. What's going on? Like, what the freaking flip, man?
I know. We had a couple good weeks, right? Maybe 2 weeks or so, maybe 3, where it was like, okay, it's not that bad. And then this week was just destruction. I was in Miami on Sunday, having a little R&R with the wife. So I didn't watch a ton of football, but I'm just getting these updates. This guy's hurt, that guy's hurt. It was a disaster. But yeah, dude, I mean, how do we do it? You know, people who don't play high stakes fantasy football, don't really understand. Like, it's not even about the money. It's about the prestige, the mental health. Well, not just the mental health is what makes it hard. It's like, man, when you're in for 30, 40, 50K, 100K, it's like an injury, you know, and we play in these high stakes leagues. It's not some home league where, oh, I just lost Brandon Ayuk. I can go trade for Jawan Jennings, or I can go, you know, Jennings is available on waivers here. Like, we're going to have a question here from 3 here in a second here that I'll bring up. But it's hard when week to week, it's just.
No, this is no joke, man. We're playing for real bucks here. This is real loot on the line, along with prestige and honor. And when players get hurt, more than anything, forget about underproducing. I can always handle that. Because that's on the owner, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I picked him. He sucks. I can accept that. I was wrong. I'll take responsibility and accountability. But when players get hurt, and the big name players, the list of them this year, especially at wide receiver, man,
dude. And you know, more than I've been playing fantasy for 30 years. I'm 40 years old. The last couple of years, there's been more zeros. I remember Gabe Davis last year had like 4 zeros in 10 weeks. We constantly get zeros. Tank Dell, 0. Devonta Smith, 0.8, like might as well be 0. It's just constant zeros. Like, it's normal. It's crazy. Zeros never existed. Like, if you got a 0, you were embarrassed. Like, oh my God, how did I start Devonta Smith or Tank Dell? 21% target share. Who freaking cares? Because you don't get fantasy points for target share. You know, I got ripped for starting Javonte Williams, and I know you'll appreciate this. Oh, the process was wrong. But you know what? He got 26 fantasy points. How was the process on Tank Dell? 21% target share, led the team in air yards. Nobody cares.
Man, everybody's pulling a Gabe Davis, first of all, this year, because it's not even in-game injuries. They're just getting shut out, which is kind of, you know, contrary to the norm. But what you just said, I forgot. What was I going to say?
Lots of zeros, you know, Javonte Williams.
Javonte. Yeah. It's not about opportunity and target share, man. At the end of the day, it's all about production and results. It always has been, and it always will be. And that's why I say analytics.
Yeah. You got to start. I mean, there is a certain process, but at the end of the day, it's like, do I think Denver's going to play with the lead? Probably. Javonte Williams can be a workhorse for them. He was due to score. I mean, the guy's been tackled at the half-yard line like 4 times this year.
I know, right?
You know, It's like he was due to get a touchdown or 2.
He was overdue, and he's a manifestation of that team's offensive struggles. The player himself looks dynamite. I wish he would get 15 to 20 touches a day. Man, I think he can really produce well. I think he will going forward. we can give him a report card for half the season and also going forward later on. I love Javonte. You and I, he's our fucking flag plant guy.
Yeah, we love him. One of them, yeah, for sure. Quick question here from 3-Pick Fail. Do we think Juwan Jennings plays this week? He did not play today at practice. Waivers tonight. How much fab should I put on him? I would put a lot of fab. I would put a ton of fab on him. And I'm only saying this because even if he doesn't play this week, you got Ayuk out for the year. And Jennings is going to be really good this year. Purdy has shown to trust him. Like I would, even if he doesn't play this week, I think you still gotta go get him. He's not available in a lot of leagues. I don't know if this is a.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm in 33 leagues. He's available in 2 of mine. How many is he available in 643 of your leagues?
That's right. I don't even. I didn't go look. I just go league by league. I'm a grinder, so I'm gonna look when I'm on.
I'd spend the house on.
Yes, he's a guy you're gonna pay up for sure, and also depending on how your what your receiving room looks like, what your injuries look like. If you lost Godwin or Evans, people aren't even talking about Evans. Evans going to be out a month. A month at this time of the year, making a playoff grind, it's like he might as well be out for the season. Like, so Evans is out for a month. Ayuk, Godwin, Shaheed, that was just like this week. So,
Shaheed, man. Oh, Shaheed was a person killer,
man. I know. So you definitely got to put in for those guys. Another question, speaking of rest of season, Ferguson or Otten rest of season? That's a great question. I have a lot of Otten. We might even have a lot of Otten together. I haven't looked.
No, we don't have any Otten together because I don't have him on a singles. I have 0 shares of Otten. But having said that, man, the opportunity is right for him. The door has been pried wide open with the 2 injuries. And you saw the manifestation of it a couple of nights ago. I mean, forget about targets. Look at the production. I think he was tight end 1 overall for the weekend.
Yes. Yeah, he was. Well, I was close. He was the 22 or so. Yeah, it was close. There was a lot of tight ends that did really well. But
including our guy Kyle Pitts, by the way, who's been much maligned and deserves some kudos and accolades going forward.
Finally coming around. But I like Ferguson going forward here. I got Ferguson as a top 10 and just outside the top 10. But again, he could creep up. He could be a target monster for them. I'm excited to have Otten on the team, on my teams now, looking to get him in the line. Honestly, dude, I would like Otten. Would you start Otten over like Sam Laporta this week? I know it's crazy to say.
It is crazy to say. And I don't do those type of things, to be honest with you. And that'll answer the Ferguson question for me. To me, Ferguson's the second target after Lamb on that, receiver Dallas Cowboy offensively challenged team year to date. But hell, man, I can't do that, Adam. I cannot start a guy like Cade Otton with his opportunities. This is a perfect, quintessential example right here. Classic. I cannot, in good conscience, put Cade Otton in my starting lineup ahead of Jake Ferguson or Sam Laporta because I would feel absolutely dreadful if things didn't go according to plan. And if things don't go according to plan with Ferguson and the aforementioned Laporta in the lineup, I can kind of live with myself and shut my eyes at night and sleep.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. That's the Patrick Mahomes argument sometimes too. I know you were off from last year, but it's like, listen, I have Patrick Mahomes. Am I going to start, I don't know, Drake May over Patrick Mahomes? Like,
completely not. Question, man. It's completely legitimate, like the Otten question is, and the fantasy football community is struggling with that question. Personally, I mean, I'm going to go down with my best. That's how I feel about it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to play the matchups. I'm not going to play who's hot. I'm going down with my best. I'm adaptable. How do you feel about it? I'm adaptable, but I'm still going to stick with my best. I'm going with my studs, man.
Yeah, I think it's hard because who are the studs? Like Mahomes, we say the stud. I know your views on Mahomes, but like there's like a handful of studs, period. Laporta, stud. He hasn't been, he hasn't been good all year. His best game, he had one catch for like a 60-yard touchdown. Like there are no more stuff. I think the matchups are super important. I think weather is important. I think game script's important. I think, but that all this stuff's so hard to predict. So as far when you say studs, and I understand what you're saying, but who the freak's a stud anymore?
It's a very legitimate point that you bring up.
There's a handful.
But let me ask you this. Do you think that Laporta, I agree with the premise of what you're saying, but I disagree with the on how to proceed and progress actually applying it. So Do you think Laporta at the end of the season is going to end up with 39 or 41 grabs for 534 yards and 2 touchdowns? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be his final stat line. He is going to turn it on. He's too talented. The offense of the Detroit Lions is a machine, a well-oiled machine at that. And at the end of the year, he's not going to end up with the numbers that he has to date half the season. So it's going to be higher, in my opinion. So the explosion, he's got to make up for it. See, I think contrarily, maybe it's unconventional, but I think contrarily, okay, the guy hasn't produced up until now. He's due. He's primed for putting up some numbers in the second half of the year. He's a perfect buy low candidate, in my humble opinion, Sam Laporta is. And a bunch of them.
Yeah, he's got a nice schedule moving forward the rest of the year. I mean, that is a good point on Laporta. Jameson Williams now missing 2 games for suspension. Right. That opens up targets. It's amazing how like everyone wanted Jameson Williams to be a thing. And then it's like, yeah, but you don't understand. There's only so many balls to go around. Jameson Williams has become a thing now. Yay. But now Amon-Ra St. Brown is much less consistent. Laporta has been unstartable. Like you get a lot of these receivers now that you can't trust them because there's not that many balls to go around.
Oh, there's no doubt that Jameson's emergence has really hurt the value of the other receivers. And also the running backs are getting more involved. Gibbs and Montgomery are getting their share as well. How come Jameson can't stay out of trouble, man? He's a bloody mate.
I don't know, dude. He's a freaking mess.
He's a head case, man. He's just like many other wide receivers in the league.
I know.
I can't stay out of trouble, man. He's suspended every year, man.
Just attracted to it. That's it. But yeah. Let's talk about one of our teams that you and I did together. A little fantasy portfolio.
It's chest beating time, is it?
That's right. A little fantasy portfolio. Listen, we
Empire State Building.
We like to kick ourselves for all the terrible things, but sometimes it's every now and then it's good to talk through the process here and get rid of this banner as we go.
Overall, by the way, you and I have teamed up on a couple of teams, but overall, with half the year in the books, personally speaking, I'm perfectly fine with where things are right now with the snake squads. And if I can have a second half akin to the first half, I'm going to be in damn good shape personally. For my teams, and you and I were going to talk about right here. How are your teams individually doing overall?
Yeah, my portfolio is doing okay. It's been an interesting year where like I have a lot of like. It's a year where you really want to look at the points because when I scroll through and look at the rankings, like I have a lot of teams, Snake, where I'm like 7th, and I'm like, how is this team 7th? And I click on it's like, oh, I'm actually in the playoffs.
Yes.
I'm 2nd in points or 3rd in points, or I've got a team that's 7th and I'm 25 points away from 2nd place. Like it's very tight. So I'm in a lot of those. Those races, for an example.
That's an excellent point that you make.
Kind of like this one that we're in here. How we are in 2nd place, and we are 6-1 with 1,053 points. But we've also, there's a team behind us with 1,063, and behind that, 1,057. Like it's a race. There's a couple team 962. Not, there's a lot of. It's very, very tight. Like we are,
absolutely.
So
when you look at one loss records, I think too many owners focus on the standings, and they're looking at there and they see their name in the middle or the bottom of the pack.
Yeah.
And then they don't pay attention, like you stated, to the points. I mean, the points are what's ultimately going to get you in the playoffs, and that's all you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to keep grinding. So look at the point totals. The average, you know what, Adam? I don't even look at, when I look at all my teams, I don't know if you do or not. I don't look at the one loss. My eye is first attracted to the total points.
Yeah. I just resorted my teams actually by points to help with kind of what teams to really, really kind of baby and nurture towards the end. Cause I'm in so many teams, but listen, this is a tough league. Schlisberg, Bailey, a defending champ, Lilas is in here. Deming's in here. Cukes and Santos are in here. Kimra. I mean, come on. They got Palermo down there at the bottom. 1-6. What happened, Palermo? Listen, I can't.
Andrew, Mr. Pink, what's going on, mate?
He's probably kicking my butt in a bunch of other leagues, so I'm just busting on. But let's take a look at this team quick here and see what we got going on. So Gino and Jalen, this was the team that we went heavy Eagles right out of the gate. Yeah, we went Barkley and A.J. Brown right out of the gate. Like, hey, listen, if we've got Barkley, we want Hurts. We want all those rushing scores. And it's coming to fruition. We got the Barkley. We got A.J. Brown. And this is a team that was without A.J. Brown for weeks and weeks and without T. Higgins for weeks and weeks. And here we are in second in points. And Dobbins, one of your guys. Javonte, one of our guys. How do you feel about this roster looking forward here?
I like this team, Adam. I like this team a lot. It's looking real good. I mean, unfortunately, we lost Shaheed, who's still on the roster. He's going to be gone after tonight, but I'm not telling you anybody who we're bidding on.
That's right. Come on. But yeah, he'll be gone after tonight. And
we were cursed with Shaheed.
Yes.
However, we were conversely blessed with DeAndre Hopkins heading over to that.
That's right.
Super Bowl champion, undefeated.
Oh God!
Chiefs.
Don't say that. That makes me want to freaking.
I know as a Bills fan, but as a DeAndre owner,
yes,
as a DeAndre Hopkins owner, it's got to make you a little bit happy, no?
Yeah, Metcalf might be out this week, but it doesn't look to be a serious injury for him. So yeah, I mean, I like our solid receiving core, our really good receiving core moving forward here. But listen, this team is going to live and die with these horses, right? Barkley, Dobbins, Javonte. Javonte's got Carolina this week, but it's all going to be on the schedule at the end of the year. Can Cincinnati hit? I'm sorry, can the Eagles hit? I mean, listen, this team's getting into the race. The question is, man, can these Eagles go off for 2 or 3 weeks as a group and really smash for us? I like their chances to do that. What are your thoughts on your Dobbins and Javonte as we kind of move forward here? I'm going to look up the Eagles schedule.
Well, first of all, from your mouth to the fantasy football god's ears, as this team is going to definitely be in the race, because with 50% of the season over and 50% still to go, nothing is a given, nothing at all. What looks is like first place today can easily in 1 week, as we've seen through the misfortune of injuries through the weeks and through the years, can change things on a dime, a mere snap of a finger. So, yeah, we're looking good right now as long as we can avoid injuries. I don't worry about underproduction. I like the team. But
I mean, we've been kind of snake bitten and we're still here, right? A.J. Brown, T. Higgins. I mean, here we are. Eagles last 3 weeks, the big race, Pittsburgh, which isn't great, but then Washington and Dallas, the final 2 weeks. I could see an offensive explosion against those teams the last 2 fantasy weeks of the year to maybe make us a couple bucks. And then I like to look too, and everyone really should, when you start looking at your roster and building it for the playoffs, because it's you're drafting it, but you're also picking up guys. Like, I like to find those guys that are injury away. Like, you say injuries and it can hurt us, sure. But if you get a guy like Kenneth Walker that goes down, you get a guy like DeAndre Swift that goes down. Now you've got Roshan, workhorse. Charbonnet has already proven to be a workhorse this year. You get guys that get injured, that help your team. Now all of a sudden, that's how you build a juggernaut. You try to pick up those running backs and those pieces that are an injury away from absolutely smashing. And hey, maybe Kincaid gets rolling here down the stretch. Hunter Henry has been really good with Drake May. He's a guy who might need to consider starting over Dalton Kincaid here these next couple weeks, depending on the match.
So now we've come semi-full circle.
That's right.
What we just talked about.
Yeah.
But first of all, before that, I'd rather be snake smitten than snake bitten, and that's where we're heading. So I love Javonte going forward. He has an easier schedule, and hopefully they'll get the ball in his hands more because he's the best playmaker, arguably the sole playmaker on his team after the year Sutton's having to date. But see, if you and I are going to talk about putting out our starting lineup on this team, I know Hunter Henry on what does he have, more points per game? I can't go. Can you scroll up? What is
Henry's got 1 more point per game than Kincaid.
And do you feel more comfortable starting a guy like Cade Otton or Hunter Henry over the likes of Ferguson, who was aforementioned, or Kincaid, which is the example here? I mean, do you?
I like Ferguson over Kincaid. Like, I don't think I would start them over Ferguson, but Kincaid, man, it's like the Bills don't care. They're going to spread it around. And I would just take it week to week. I mean, Henry's got a tough matchup this week against the Jets, but to me, it's a new season for Henry, right? Like, Drake May has been there. It's like almost like you're starting fresh. Like, what has he done in the last 2 weeks? He's been really good. 17 this week.
No, he's been really good. Last 2 weeks, he's been crushing it, man. I didn't even like Hunter Henry. He was the one guy that I didn't sign off on this team. It was your pick, and that was well done. So kudos and accolades. But now we're going back. I see that you're leaning, and a lot of fantasy football owners do this. I'm not making a judgment or criticism nor a complaint. It's simply a fact statement. They really do what you're talking about, and they're watching the matchups, and they're looking at the opponent's defensive rankings and the field conditions and whether it's a home or an away game and all those factors. And I don't know, man, when it comes to my studs, I have a really hard time sitting them, even if the matchup, quote unquote, doesn't seem as good for them. I have a problem. I've always had a problem with that, Adam. I've lived and died with my studs, so to speak. So you and I are a little bit at a disagreement on this, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's a conversation that people are always having. It's just, my view of studs might be different than other people's view. Like, we were hoping Kincaid would be a stud. Well, he isn't a stud or hasn't been a stud. It's not like it's a Lamar Jackson. No, Lamar's been, or a Josh Allen or a Jalen Hurts. No, those guys are studs. Week in and week out, they put up the points. Forget the matchup. Kincaid hasn't been a stud. So I don't view him as like hey, we have to start him, whatever. I mean, again, I would lean Kincaid most times, but I think it's a good thing to talk about. We got a question here, start-sit question from 3Pick again. Would you start Richardson versus Houston or Bo Nix versus Carolina over Geno if DK doesn't suit up? I'll talk a little bit about Anthony Richardson. I loved Anthony Richardson going into the year. I thought he'd get hurt. He has, but I thought the games that he's played, he would be way better, and he has not. He has been just there are teams, Snake, where I have 3 quarterbacks like this person does, and I want to cut Richardson, to be honest. Now, granted, I have better quarterbacks than Nix and Geno. It'll be Geno and maybe somebody else, Geno and like Tua or something. But I wish I could cut freaking Anthony Richardson so that I'm not pressured to start him. I mean, I have a lot of Jared Goff and a lot of Anthony Richardson, and last week I started 75% Goff and 25% Richardson, and I wish I would have started, Goff the whole way. But I don't know. What is your thought on Richardson? But in this matchup, I think I would still lean. I don't know. I'm looking at the schedule of it. I think I would probably still lean Geno, honestly, even if DK doesn't play, because them and the Bills are probably going to be a semi shootout in Seattle.
Well, first of all, it's a question in a vacuum. It's hard to answer these questions without seeing the rest of his team and the potential upside and downside at the other positions and what he's playing for. So, but to echo your sentiments on A-Rich, I think a lot of owners feel the angst of being an A-Rich owner. It's been a tough sled. Looks like the second coming of Tim Tebow. Guy can't hit a 10-yard out, man.
I know. It's bad. And he has weapons. He's got a solid line. Maybe when JT comes back, it kind of helps that offense a little bit. But I would probably go Nix or Geno. Now, again, you do run the risk of Anthony Richardson breaking the slate, right? So, you do run the risk of, hey, you don't start Richardson. All of a sudden, he has 90 yards and 3 rushing scores. And you're like, oh, my God. Whereas Nix won't do that to you.
No, he's capped. He's capped on the upside. So Anthony Richardson question for starting on this from this gentleman. It's the same thing like Ferguson and then Kincaid. Ferguson versus Otten and Kincaid here. I don't think that players that are underperforming year to date with 50% of the season in the books, Adam, I don't think that they're going to continue their slide for the most part. I tend to give good players, and again, Kincaid is not a stud. You're right, aka more studly Ferguson, but he's not. I don't know if he's achieved stud status either.
Yeah,
but I think that the players that have been underperforming, that are in a good position, and that we drafted after doing months and months of analysis in the offseason, I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt, man, and I roll with them. Maybe I'm overly patient. It's worked out for me more times than not in my 25 years of doing this. But I tend to be patient and stick with the guys that I've believed in, and especially if they're underperforming. That doesn't mean, Adam, if somebody's underperforming to date, what's the odds of them in the next half of the season underperforming or overperforming? I mean, where do you draw the line? Are they going to underperform as they've been doing, or are they more prone to overperform as they have not been doing?
Yeah, I think it depends on what the cause of the issue is, right? Like if is it they're just dropping footballs? Well, they're not going to drop all the footballs. Are they getting targets? Are they getting air yards? Are they getting, are there injuries? Like Tyreek and Jalen Waddle underperforming. We know why. As soon as Tua's back in the lineup, you roll those guys back out there and you expect to them to perform, or is it a situation where it's a running back and they're Javonte Williams? The guy's been tackled at the half-yard line 4 times this year. Now, again, he's not stud status. He's underperforming, whatever. But, like, he's a guy you expect, like, all right, that's going to stop happening and stuff like that. So I think
George Pickens is another example of Javonte, by the way. He's left so many air yards on the field.
Yes. And now he's got a new quarterback. He's got a new season. And he looked great with Russell Wilson last week, right? Like, it was just go ahead.
I'm a Pickens owner, so I loved what I saw, but
yeah.
I'm a little bit skeptical, man. I'm not a Russ believer. And
Russ stinks. Yeah, no, I know. But it's like if Russ trusts Pickens and he's willing to kind of lob those beautiful balls deep down the field, no pun.
Balls are listening. Beautiful, Adam.
Pause. It's I think it works. So I think to back to your question is I think it really depends on why people are underperforming, why are they overperforming, and that type of thing. Are guys catching deep passes where the receiver is a blown coverage, right? Like, okay, well, you can't really count on that. So I think you got to take it on a case-by-case basis, and I think that's what we got to do.
So in Kincaid's case, do you think that Kincaid's going to end up with 45 to 50 catches and 573 yards and 3 touchdowns, or is he going to better those numbers at year's end? That's my question. Ultimately.
Yeah, I think he'll be better in the second half than he was in the first half. I think he will. Now, will it be significantly better? Does it catapult him from tight end 15 on the season to tight end 5 on the season? Maybe not. But I think does he have 1 touchdown through like 7 games? Like I think he'll have more second half touchdowns, I think, but
and there's a lot of players like Kincaid, Adam. There's so many that we can go through that have been underperforming year to date, and others that I think, in my opinion, have been overperforming. I mean, who can we touch on?
Well, why don't we talk about this trade first, and then we can touch on those players. The DeAndre Hopkins trade, like him coming to. Speaking of a guy that's underperformed, he's had a knee injury. He's 32. He's been in Will Levis is terrible. They can just go cut him now. And move on. But Hopkins now, I've heard people say he's a wide receiver 14, 15 rest of season. I don't know about that, but I think he can go from unstartable to, well, every receiver is kind of startable in the FFWC because you got to start 3 of them. You can start up to 5. But like, I think he goes to a guy that like, hey, he's got some pretty decent upside, maybe like a Keenan Allen type of player where some weeks he's mad, the next week he gets 11 targets and two touchdowns. So they desperately need somebody there. Xavier Worthy hasn't been it. Sky Moore wasn't it. Kadarius Toney wasn't it. These little guys that they try to make into Tyreek Hill, it's not happening. But I think he can be, a Keenan Allen where he's like a short intermediate guy, picks up big first downs. They go to him in the red zone when Kelsey's getting double teamed, and he could be a problem.
I would tend to concur with that assessment right there. I think he's in a perfect spot. We left DeAndre Hopkins for dead on a podcast we did 5 weeks ago based on his lower extremity injuries that he was suffering at the time. But even DeAndre Hopkins at 75% is an upgrade on Justin Watson, right? And
yeah.
So if he's in the perfect position, I mean, I don't think he can fail. He's going to overproduce by far what he did, up to this point in the season. I think DeAndre's due for a resurgence.
For sure.
He's on his. I just wish I had more of him now. Before I was kind of happy, but he's in a perfect position, and I also think that he can open up things for Worthy potentially as well. Just like I thought that Adams, when he came over, would open things for Garrett Wilson. I don't think that's necessarily a negative. Yeah, Garrett's not going to get 23 targets a game. But
Yeah.
if he gets 8 or 9 and they're concerted and concentrated, I mean, I think he can perform just fine and even still be a wide receiver 1. You know?
Yeah, and you get a guy like that who's searching for that Super Bowl, searching for that ring. He's gonna be rejuvenated. I think he's gonna be excited. You'll see him perform. So be excited about him. I don't think he's a wide receiver. He's not a wide receiver 1 moving forward,
No,
but
I think so.
but he could be a low end wide receiver 2. I'm excited to listen. We lost, like I said, we lost Shaheed. So let me ask you, in that team that we just showed, would you rather have a healthy Shaheed or Hopkins in Kansas City? I might be a net positive.
You got to go with a healthy Hopkins in KC, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
even though Shaheed was becoming the number 1 wideout and surpassing Olave based on targets and production,
they were kind of fading though. Talking about the Saints, like they went 2-0 and they were great, and then the last couple weeks they kind of. Shaheed was fine. He was getting there, but it wasn't pretty the last couple of weeks. And now,
Well, because Derek Carr, I never thought I'd be saying this. I'd hear myself saying this, but they need Derek Carr back in the lineup.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy to even think about. All right, running back landscape here. Like, how do we, the studs have been pretty studly. Obviously, McCaffrey has been out. Ouch, is right. But Bijan's been fine. Barkley's been great. Brees Hall, like those guys are all hit. Gibbs, great. Henry, a lot of the top guys have been really, really good. Haven't really busted. A guy I want to talk about rest of season, Devin Achane, right? He's a guy that you and I both loved. I think we both still do love him. The fact that he's kind of held on like he has, despite the injury to Tua. Really, listen, Tua. People want to talk about MVPs. Tua should be in the top 5 of the MVP because that team is unwatchable without Tua in there.
It's mind-blowing, man. It's mind-blowing how a team can be so decimated. I mean, literally at halftime, Tyreek and Waddle combined had zero
targets, like
0 catches, and they ended up with 1 each, one catch for 8 and 11 yards, disrespectfully.
It's so stupid. So I love Achane rest away, man. I love the offense. He's proven that they want him to be the workhorse, which is what we wanted to see. And now wheels are up rest of the season. Talk to me about Achane.
I think Achane has the potential to be the number 1 overall running back for the rest of the year.
Oh, music to my ears.
I mean, I'll just state it,
he gets Arizona, Buffalo, the Rams, the Raiders, New England the next 5 weeks. That's a beautiful, beautiful schedule.
But more importantly than those teams that he gets back to a.
That's of course.
Yeah, and that's what's going to propel him. And it's going to help the other skill players, Tyreek and Waddle as well. I like Achane as the running back 1 overall for the next half of the season.
I would love that. So that look good. How about what are you doing with kind of the middle of the pack guys? What are you doing with the middle of the pack? What are you doing with Christian McCaffrey? Like, is he a buy guy? I mean, I know we don't. A lot of the leagues that we're in, there's no buying, there's no selling or whatever. But do you have any teams left that are viable here with Christian McCaffrey? Because I think you and I drafted a team together that is not in good shape with CMC.
Well, the one team that we are in a little bit of trouble, like middle of the pack, but still a long way to go, is the team with CMC.
Yeah.
But
even that team, dude, we're like. 60 points out of a freaking playoff spot, getting CMC back.
We're there. We've been pretty blessed with that team. So yeah, you're right, man. CMC is he's produced as much as Jonathan Brooks has. I mean, people are picking Jonathan Brooks in the 7th round.
Right.
Right. I mean, people are picking him. I have 0 shares of Brooks and I have 2 shares of McCaffrey. But man, how do you miss half a season at 30? When McCaffrey comes back, he could be strong, man. He's well rested, and
he could also, re-aggravate it and be done for the rest of the year. Like, he's going to miss this week's game, then they have a bye, then he'll probably come back against Tampa, I would think, and then he's got a really good schedule, honestly. He's got Seattle, Buffalo, Miami, the Rams, like that type of stuff. But it's like he could also, he comes. They're a really good team with a next season. They'll be in the playoff contention next year, 2 Super Bowl contention. He might come back and be tight and stiff. Like, you know what? Let's just call it a year on him. So Mason's a guy I would not be dropping. I would not be.
Wow, no way.
I would not be
I
selling.
wouldn't even drop Isaac either. Yeah. McCaffrey's the quintessential high risk, high reward player for the rest of the season. But those owners that have been patient enough to wait this long, you said he comes back at their buys in week 9, right?
Yes, and then he should be back week 10.
So 2 more weeks to go. You know, if you've held on this far, kudos and accolades to you. And
talk to me about the Jaguar situation. Do you think it's Bigsby's now to lose? Do you think? I mean, he's definitely. Everyone can see it. It's one of these situations where everyone can see it. Bigsby's the better runner. He's the better runner for sure than ETN is. When ETN comes back, does ETN take over the pass catching role and they let Bigsby still cook, or like nobody really knows? Is he worth a flex start? What's your thoughts?
You would think that if Doug Peterson, being in his right mind and fighting for his job, would allow the better, clearly as you stated, the better of the 2 backs to be on the field the majority of the time, would clearly work in his favor. As a 32% owner of Bigsby and a 0% owner of ETN, I hope that Doug comes to his senses and does the right thing, because he's, like you see, he's a better back, man. But to answer your question, who knows what's going through these coaches' heads, man?
I know.
There's money involved. You paid ETN more money than Bigsby. But again, it comes to down to job security. You think that Doug would do what's in his best interest, no?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the job security thing is the point, right? That's like, if he wants to keep his job, he's got to play his best guys. And Bigsby,
he's a beast, huh, Adam?
Yeah, a beast. And my buddy. What's funny? Speaking of HN, my buddy texts me. We are in a big money home league together, and he's like, and he takes care of everything, and he never asks me lineup questions, and he texts me. He's like, "Hey, this week Bigsby over HN, right?" And I'm like, no, HN. And just to confirm, like, I went to a couple different websites. You went to FullTime, went to a couple, like, everyone has HN way over Bigsby. I'm like, I think you got to go with HN here. And of course, Bigsby goes for 2 touch. It was just, I'm like, bro, don't ask me again. I hate being the guy to do that.
But that's the right call. Although
I guess,
that was the right call. See, I don't know, man.
What
if they went off, and did twice the production that Bigsby did? Then it can happen on any given week. Even next week, who would you play? I'd play HN over Bigsby 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Especially with Tua back. I don't think it's a question. Question here from Jerry, though. McMillan or Shepard for waivers? I don't even want to answer his question. You know what I mean? Like, why? I'm in about 72 leagues with Jerry. McMillan, I think. Shepard, I think Shepard would have shown something by now. He's just a journeyman receiver he's had spots here and there, but I always like to go with the rookie or the younger guy that hasn't had a chance to prove himself yet. Here he is. Now, I don't think either of them are going to smash. I think they might be flex. I think McMillan will be flex worthy until Evans gets back. But I'm not super excited. If I had McMillan already on a roster, and I'm like, oh, look, I found a little pocket money here, I might be starting him, but I don't know if I would go crazy on McMillan either. I like a couple other players instead.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. McMillan had he had decent opportunities a couple of nights ago, but he didn't really make the best of them, much like JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, has been doing all year. But that's a different story. McMillan is the better play, but I don't know if I would disrespect Sterling as much. Yeah, he's a journeyman, but he plays hurt, and he's had some horrific injuries in his career. And when the guy's on the field, he produces. He's always kind of produced. But yeah, I go with the younger rookie who's healthy, McMillan, as opposed to Shepard. But don't prematurely blow your wad, Jerry, which you're known for doing.
That's right. Don't do that. I'm surprised he has any money left. To be honest with you, what is your thought on this? We were both in on JSN. He's been disappointing to say the least. He's again, it's a crowded receiving core. Maybe with Metcalf out this week, but here's what's going to happen. Metcalf's going to be out, and Jake Bobo is going to freaking like he did last year is going to freaking be a thing. But I don't know, man. JSN's almost becoming unstartable.
You know what, Adam? Though it's kind of a conundrum wrapped in a riddle, so to speak, because JSN is in the top 5, I believe, of targeted receivers in the NFL.
Maybe.
He's way up there, man.
I'll look it up right now.
And air yards that he's left on the table. I know that's an analytical thing, man. George Pickens and Garrett Wilson and others, Cortland Sutton to name, because the quarterbacks can't get them the ball. Aaron Rodgers stinks, by the way. He's such a prima donna. But Jay, I'm going to hold out hope on JSN. Lockett hasn't gone away like we wanted him to. He's still a thorn in JSN's side. But I'm optimistic. I remain the glass is half full of whiskey, not milk, in JSN's case. And I think the best is yet to come from him. And I hope I'm not wrong on that. What do you think?
Yeah, he's not. He's top. He's 9th in the NFL in targets.
Look at that.
That blows my mind.
Dang, come on. I thought he was top 5, but 9th. He's a second wide receiver, man, on his own team.
That's crazy. It's 37 catches on 55 targets for 300. He's averaging 8 yards a catch, which is, you got to go down to like
Wandale Robinson.
8 yards a catch. You got to get down to wide receiver 37. Josh Downs, 8 yards a catch. You got to get down. It's
Wandale Robinson, like 4.5 or something.
Who is that?
Wandale Robinson.
Oh God, probably. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting.
He's getting the opportunities, Adam, JSN. He's getting the opportunities. It's just
but they're all around the line of scrimmage, man. They're all around the line of scrimmage. He's not able to do.
That was supposed to change from last year under Ryan Grubb this year, and not under Shane Waldron last year. That was supposed to change, and it really hasn't. I think he's getting more targets downfield. He's just not converting him. Gino and him have been off, man. I've been watching. They've been off. They're not connecting, much like Rodgers and Garrett Wilson for a lot of this season.
Well, let's hope it doesn't start. Let's hope it doesn't start this week in Buffalo. I'll tell you that much.
I'm sticking with JSN.
Yeah, I guess you got to. He's getting the target, so he's got a decent floor, I guess. But man, he just doesn't pop off for any big plays or.
He's due, man, and
that's right.
The way you're looking at it is one way, and the other way to look at it is he has underperformed year to date. He's due, and he's going to get the numbers at the end of the year. So here he comes. He's going to start overproducing for the second half of the year. Like that. That's how I feel about him. Others, I would feel differently. I'm a JSN truther.
Yeah. Brian Thomas Jr. That's a guy that I've got a bunch of Brian Thomas. I think he's been incredible. Lawrence loves him. He is the number one target. Well, Evan Ingram's come back and been really, really awesome too for the 2 games that Ingram's been back. And I think it's Ingram and Thomas for sure in the passing game. Brian Thomas must start wide receiver 2 rest of the season. Yes.
Adam, I'll give you a lot of again kudos and much accomplished accolades for being on Brian Thomas in the beginning of the year. I know you were scooping him up in a lot of leagues that we were competing against each other. I don't have a single share of Brian Thomas. And he's proved me dead wrong. He's been brilliant.
Yeah.
He's been producing brilliantly. He took over the role from Kirk. Yeah, Ingram, of course, absorbs more targets when he's back in. But I kind of thought that Brian Thomas was more of a one-trick pony akin to a la Deshaun Jackson or somebody that would just run long routes and clear things out. But he's proven to be a consummate route runner, man. He's a good football player. And I'm surprised. I totally whiffed on Brian Thomas.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I don't. Yeah, I just kind of took a shot on him. I thought he was decent. I didn't think he was going to do this by any means. I thought he'd be a decent flex guy, come on in the second half like the rookie receivers do. I wasn't expecting this, but he's been really, really good. But
he's the number 1 overall producing rookie wide receiver.
Correct. Yes, yeah. But speaking of being really, really good, Snake, you've been excellent tonight. We got waivers tonight that we got to get back to because we're grinding high stakes lunatics. We got to make sure everything's tight this week. By the way, thanks to Scott and FFWC for moving waivers back to 11 p.m. Huge thing here. Give us an extra hour of daylight here to get our stuff done. But
yeah, and for Jerry, Daily Double and everybody out there listening, you really need to go big tonight in the waiver wire.
That's right.
If you want to procure guys like Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard, Cedric Tillman, and even the guy who's doing jury duty at present, the kicker for the Cowboys, Aubrey, you're going to have to spend. So
jury duty. Jeez.
Yeah. So loosen up your pockets, man. Don't be so tight. It's
that's
time
right.
to spend. You're not blowing at your wad prematurely.
Yeah, that's right.
Kate, man. Half the season's over, Adam.
That's right. It is. What
are you waiting for? What are you going to do with that money?
Can't take it with you.
No.
Can't take it with you. So, all right, say thanks for joining me tonight, everyone. I will see you next week, and good luck with waivers and good luck in week 8. See you guys.
Thank you.